So before I get any further, I just want to let you guys know that this is going to be the first in a two-part theory series, which as you can see called The Case of Ventus. Now I'm not the type to just put out a theory with a nice clickbait title, what everybody wants to see or potentially see that's shocking just for the views, you know, because there are a lot of theorists, popular or not, even in the Kingdom Hearts community especially, that do that. Hey, sometimes I could even be just a little bit late to the party, but I care about getting the real truth. I'm trying to have my theory surprise me just as much as it surprised everyone else. Which brings us to the topic at hand. The newest Kingdom Hearts Union Cross update left big pieces to discuss and theorize about. It opened up new doors, made new possibilities, and also cleared things up, while of course also opening more doors to questions. And if you guys haven't checked out the update, then I will try to remember to put links into the description of all the newest scenes so you guys can watch it as well. And come back here once you're done. Contrary to popular belief and some popular theorists, I can confidently say for Case of Ventus Part 1 that Ventus is innocent. Now at first view of this story update in the confession video, it seems like it's going to put you in the opposite direction of proving Ventus as guilty. But I know Kingdom Hearts and I expect more from Kingdom Hearts, so I wanted to dig deeper, and I believe that we were actually being thrown off. Now both of these parts are going to be pretty packed theories for me, and I really would appreciate it if you guys would stick to the end of both of these videos, because there's a lot I want to go over and I don't want you guys to miss any of it. Some of my points are going to be big and I could talk more on, and some of them are going to be smaller. But one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was the presence of another individual here. As you guys know, there's more people among this era than just the new Union leaders, and even more so involved in this murder case. In Ventus's flashback, he talks about how, according to his memory, he had to go meet Ava at the abandoned building first, and they left the abandoned building together and they made their way to the tower, in which she informed him of his role as a new Union leader and were to meet even after the Keyblade War. In Ventus's flashback, once it pans over to the entrance of the abandoned building, once he's asking who's there, it's Strelitzia in there. But that's not who I'm talking about when I mean Ventus was clearly not alone, because remember, he seemingly left with Ava, even though Ava had no intention of making Ventus a new Union leader. They would have had no means to meet up in the first place about that. Point being, who I think the true killer of Strelitzia is, Darkness, was already there by the time Ventus arrived in the abandoned building. Because remember, although we saw Ventus enter, there's nothing to disprove that he was the very first person to arrive there. It's the same case as when Strelitzia arrived there. We didn't know that she wasn't the first one there as well. Similar to Ventus, she went in there, she called out looking for someone, nobody answered. But in both cases, something happened that they were not expecting. For Strelitzia, she was attacked and she was killed. But for Ventus, after the point to where he knew somebody had entered the abandoned building, his memory is just a blur, which means someone or something had to have intervened. During this scene, Ventus also got flashes of remembering seeing Strelitzia's body with her Kirthi's body as well, and I theorize that that is a key point in this scenario. To me, I think if he was possessed by something like Darkness, then he wouldn't remember anything at all. I'm thinking that Ventus was just another victim in this scenario set up by Darkness, except he was the one that was kept alive, where Strelitzia was the one that was killed. And remember, Nomura is no idiot. In my opinion, nothing in Kingdom Hearts is ever confirmed until we literally see it for ourselves. Assuming Ventus did it solely because he was there as Strelitzia arrived, which we did see, as well as having a memory of her being collapsed there, doesn't mean he did it to me. There's something else about the flashback and the moment of Strelitzia's death that we saw in the first place that's kind of weird. We saw Ventus leaving with Ava and he had the rulebook in hand. Like I said, isn't that just a bit weird to you? Even if Ventus were to suddenly be controlled by his dark side of Ventus, why would he have grabbed the rulebook? Ventus would never have even known what it was until he was informed of it by Ava and had her give it to him, let alone the desire to kill someone for it, him or his dark side as Ventus. Ventus would only know as much as Ventus knows, especially being in the same body, but Ventus wasn't around at this time. Point being, every single dandelion that was chosen as a Union leader only learned of the rule book and their role for after the Keyblade War, after having been told by Ava. Never before. And as Ventus says in his memories, he was leaving with Ava and she was telling him of his role as he had the rulebook in his hand, which means this fake had a reason for stealing the book and giving it to Ventus and had to have the knowledge of Ava's plan. The only person who should have known was Lady Ava, because this was her role for after the war. Even her book of prophecies was special because she kept a list of the new Union leaders as well as details of the events even after the war like the others had. One more being that knew of the Book of Prophecies and had read important parts of its content before. And that person was Darkness. And this leads me to believe that he got his hands on Ava's Book of Prophecies, reading it, her list, as well as her other notes that she may have had in her copy of the Book of Prophecies, was exactly how he was able to tell Ventus the correct instructions on meeting with the other new union leaders. Because as Brain already confirmed, Ventus was never on the list to be a new union leader after the Keyblade War. So in total, there were 3 beings in that abandoned house during that time. One was Ventus, the second was Strelitzia, and the third was Darkness. And all this time you might have been wondering, why are you assuming that it was Darkness that was this impersonator of Ava? Even if it is fair to assume that Darkness probably was the one that killed Strelitzia, why do you think this fake is Darkness? I actually have a good reason for that. A while back, there was a scene from Union Cross of a conversation between the Master of Masters and his apprentice Lushu. They were talking about the Master of Masters' past and what his time was like. And this scene came up in the midst of this story of figuring out the Strelitzia case. So to me, this is no mistake. This is important to the context of this case. Anyway, Lushu was discussing with the Master of Masters what was it like back then. Was there a Keyblade War? Yes. Was there light battles between light and darkness? Yes. What was the darkness like back then? The Master of Masters was saying that the darkness in that time in fact took the form of people they knew even. And when Lushu was saying, oh, then I guess they are human, he said not necessarily. So they still were monsters, but they were beings that more so took the form of people in order to trick the people of that time. So these were no normal dark beings like Heartless or anything. These beings had intelligence, which also very much reminds me of the Darklings we also saw a while back who could actually speak. And after he killed Strelitzia, taking the form of Ava is exactly what he did. Darkness used this technique that they had in the Master's old era and did this. And as we're even used to in the current Kingdom Hearts era, beings of darkness are completely capable of existing, but they all have come from people just like Heartless do in the current era. And although we know Darkness has ties to people in that time because he did tell Maleficent that he had a very old acquaintance when questioned about his ties to that period, it's different from the kind in the modern era of Kingdom Hearts. And by modern era, I mean from Birth by Sleep time to Kingdom Hearts 3 time. My thing is that there's a difference between someone like Darkness's abilities and other beings of darkness like Ventus and Riku's darkness that was still existing even after Riku had changed. Those two took the form of who they came from. They had a visible physical form you could see and make out who they were. They were unable to change to look any different. They could only be who their creation allowed them to be. But as proven by this new scene, there was a fake Ava that led Ventus to the tower, and we know that, like I said before, because Ava never had any intention of meeting up with Ven and assigning him this position. And to those that are thinking, oh well, okay, well Darkness may not be Ventus, but Darkness still could have taken control of Ventus in order to kill Strelitzia, I don't think that's true either. And in the Master's conversation with Lushu, did he mention that these beings of darkness could take the form of people? Yes, he did, but he never mentioned possession from these beings. If that were possible, then he most definitely would have mentioned that in their conversation when he asked. And this leads back to what I was saying before. Ventus was still led out by this Ava impersonator leading him to the tower afterward. But in order to do that, he would have had to have gotten to the abandoned house ahead of Ventus, not after Ventus, because the only one that came after Ventus was Strelitzia. And because Ventus lost his memory, something happened to Ventus while he was already there. Nobody came behind Strelitzia because she was still able to completely go into the room, and the person that did attack her and kill her came from her front, not towards the entrance. That lone piece of when Ava arrived is super key for this to have gone according to plan and without Ventus having been able to reveal things way too early. Or should I say rather, what has kept the Union leaders off Darkness's tail all this time so far. Another smaller but also key point is you would know if a Keyblade wielder had tainted hands in this world. If Ventus did kill Strelitzia, even if he was possessed or even if he wasn't possessed, why was it not detected ahead of time? Now, before you say anything, you might be thinking, oh well, I mean, not every leader of darkness will have their darkness sense. Master Xehanort didn't have his darkness sense. Yes, Master Eric is very well knew Xehanort was interested in the darkness and used the darkness, which is part of what their falling out was about in the first place. Plus, Xehanort didn't just wield darkness, he wielded light as well, which is very evident by his fighting style in Kingdom Hearts 3. And even if that's not good enough for you, even if he wasn't detected somehow, wouldn't his Kirathi have became a dark Kirathi? Because your Kirathis are attached to the Keyblade wielder themselves, you know? Or rather wouldn't, if not his own Kirith, because there was a point where it said if a Keyblade wielder turns to the darkness, a dark Kirith is created. In addition, wouldn't there have been another additional dark Kirith that was created as a result of his darkness or his heinous actions? Because there was one dark Kirith that we saw, but that was as a result of the player. Yet if you fast forward to Kingdom Hearts 3, when Ven meets back up with this Kirith at the very end of Kingdom Hearts 3, his Kirith is perfectly fine, and there's been no sign of any dark Kirith having trailed him all the years either. And the very last thing that I think they're also deliberately hiding for us is the killing method. But there's two things. One, the silhouette didn't have a weapon on them, and two, I feel like they were specifically hiding that so we wouldn't be led on any one specific person. Because if we did hear the sound of a Keyblade, we would have automatically thought, oh, it's gotta be a Dandelion, then it's probably gonna be one prominent character like one of the Union leaders or something. But that's not even necessarily true. A being like Darkness wouldn't need a weapon, because remember, as we know in Kingdom Hearts, all weapons can destroy beings that have hearts and cause the heart to escape, but only Keyblades have the ability to set hearts held by Heartless free as part of recompletion of their original form, or to be added into Kingdom Hearts, depending on where the hearts are guided. While as for a normal weapon, like if you fought a Heartless, for example, the heart free from a Heartless would just reform into a Heartless once again. So that's why I'm saying it's not just limited to a Keyblade wielder, when at the very end of Felicia's death scene, it showed her heart float away. At this moment in time, we don't know what happened to it, but hey, this is my theory, and I can say I'm pretty confident in it. Remember, this is a two-parter. This isn't mainly just about who killed Felicia. This is mainly about proving Ventus's innocence, into why you cannot just assume that it is him based on what we have seen in these scenes. But digging deeper, there's plenty of evidence and plenty illusions that could lead to Ventus's innocence, even more so than him being guilty. But not just from these scenes, but in past scenes with past information, past data that we've received, Ventus is innocent. But to those of you that have made it to the end of this video, let me know what you guys think, because this is the point of all this. Thankful for everyone that stayed to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think I'm on the right path? What do you think I'm not? Remember, there is a part 2 to this video, so stay tuned, because it is coming soon, and it will complete this 2-part series of the case of Ventus. And to prove that those of you did stay all the way to the end of this video, make sure you comment #waywardwind at the end or beginning of your comment, just so I know who the loyal ones and the homies are. And like I said, this half was just mainly proving Ventus is innocent, to why you can't just assume that it's him based off the things that we've seen, that there's a lot more to it than that. But above all, I just want to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming out and checking out the video. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description below of the normal scenes that I got data for this video, so you guys can watch them and refresh your memory. I'll leave a link to the channel as well as the videos, if I remember, in the description below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video to support, so I can keep doing this for you guys, because I really enjoy it. So I want to thank you all for watching. You guys are amazing. I'll see you all in the next one.